feel like whispering today. Honestly, I this new couch setup, it's trying to figure out how to deal with it. So
That's okay.
I'm like turning right, left, up and down. I got to make sure you don't see my Michelin man body here. So
You mean your meat suit?
yeah, meat suit. We were actually chatting about that today. It was pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
The first time I heard meat suit, I actually laughed pretty hard. I had some tears. It was good.
Does it make sense to you though?
Sort of. I mean, the way I kind of
Interpreted it?
interpreted it was just like this big piece of meat walking around, and yeah, like how we throw on a suit. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, basically my interpretation of a meat suit is that we are all souls, and then when we come to earth, we drop into our meat suits, and this is my meat suit, that is your meat suit. And that's our meat suits. We're just two meat suits, but forever we are souls.
So what's underneath the meat suit?
Our soul. We are a soul that drops into these bodies that has to kind of live on this plane of this 3D plane of life. But some of us get to experience other realms and other planes.
By the way, guys, just so you know, we have not we were actually supposed to have a guest on today.
Yeah, I kind of messed that one up. So we were supposed to have a really lovely guest. She'll be coming on in a couple weeks. And I screwed up the scheduling. So today it's just us. But I feel like it's a good thing that it's just us again, because people will get to know us.
Well, and that just goes to show in life that really, things are bound to happen, but it's just a matter of pushing forward, right?
Yeah.
No matter whether it's in terms of business, relationship, really any aspect of life, I believe that there's things that come up, and it's just a matter of moving forward and having that determination and consistency.
Yeah, perseverance, just keep going. Yeah, Craig asked me, he's like, well, should we just let it go? And I'm like, no, let's just do it. Let's just go and get people to know us, because, one of the things that I brought up this week on my Instagram was autism, because you are diagnosed with autism. I have had a diagnosis for PTSD, and the doctor does also believe that I am autistic. But we were kind of discussing, what are our beliefs that autism actually is. And I'd like to know, Craig, what is your concept of autism? And it doesn't have to be necessarily what the world has told you autism is, but what is your deep-seated what is your thoughts on autism? What is autism to you, Craig?
It's how do you explain it? Like it's like nobody understands you. It's like you wherever you go, you're by yourself.
Yeah.
Like you're essentially you're in your own thoughts. You're really just wherever you are. It's just kind of it's strange. You don't fit in. Like it's one of those things you don't fit in. And for me, I'm 34 now and continue growing, and I've kind of learned that okay, I don't fit in. How can I use it to connect with others? And that's why we're doing this today and beyond, is because it's really going to be meant for people that really don't know how to, because no matter what we have, we can use it. Right. So I feel like it's a lot of loneliness, but entrepreneurship is loneliness too. I mean, entrepreneurship it's really just something that somebody's super passionate about, unless of course you're only in it for money, right? Then that's different. That's a total different conversation. But entrepreneurship is the same thing. You have something you love to do, and you're doing it by yourself, and nobody understands you.
Yeah, but I feel like that's entrepreneurship among autistic people, because we work from a place of passion and love and devotion, and we want to help people. And whereas a lot of other people, they do entrepreneurship from a perspective of just finances. Work, give me the money, pay. And I feel like this does separate the autistic people from the neurotypical people, because we kind of work from a greater perspective of like a whole, and we want to give back to humanity. But a lot of people just want to make money and put it in their pocket themselves.
Well, I mean, that gives us so much more room to grow. I mean, I mean, because again, once you say, "Oh, I'm going to make 30 million, 1 trillion, a zillion, whatever the number is," essentially, once you reach that number, it's like, okay, you say to yourself, "What's next?"
Yeah.
But for us, it's just about continuing to grow that passion and grow that whatever we're looking for inside of us, just to really deliver the impactful message. And that's that's why I think we look at Tesla, we look at all the beautiful things that have happened, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, Amazon, and I mean, a lot of this stuff was created with passion.
Yeah, it was definitely created with passion. Well, I would like to kind of go back myself to, my construct of autism, because I feel like for me, it is just something that I believe, it's a label, what they give certain people that don't fit in. And I have this concept of what I personally think autism is. And it's a little bit out there. It's not a medical, they don't necessarily agree with me, but, maybe some would. So I have this idea that potentially people who are born with autism, I suspect that there could have been stress in the pregnancy of our mothers that raised the cortisol level within them upon, anywhere from conception to growing the fetus into a baby. And I feel personally like that causes brain developmental issues. And therefore, once we're hatched and ready to come into this world, we didn't get that full spectrum of nutrients and things that we needed, even in utero, to come out into this world and function like everybody else. That's kind of my take on autism.
Interesting.
Am I blowing the doctors' minds?
Probably. I mean, there's so many things out there. There's so many, and does that connect to your personal story at all?
Yeah, for sure it does. My mom was she was married to my father at the time, but she was in a situation where she had to work late nights on a catering truck. My dad was in the food catering business. And it really put her into a place where she, was under a high level of stress because she had to work nighttime hours and she was pregnant with me. I think that combined with potentially my dad not being the most faithful dude, I think that would have caused her some stress. Like, while I'm in utero, if the cortisol levels of her are raising, I just feel like it doesn't really create a peaceful, somatic place for a baby to be developing in.
Yeah.
It's just a concept. It's just an idea. I am curious
fascinating,
about it.
though. I mean, there's so many things out there to be curious for, and really, there's so many things that kind of make sense when you put it into perspective. Mm-hmm. But again, we are so regulated that we have to, make sure we get the government's stamp on it before we can actually fundamentally use it, which is kind of strange in terms of the vaccine.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this.
We could talk about anything. Well, they stamped that and clearly, I feel like one of the things that I didn't understand was, how it got pushed out so fast. And although there just wasn't enough studies on it, and, just to go into like my personal story, I've never had COVID and I am not vaccinated. That is kind of rare among the vaccinated people.
Were you isolated, though? Is that sort of why maybe this didn't happen? Or did you still go out and attend? Or were you...
I was definitely more isolated because I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. Mm-hmm. Plus, I have been suffering from PTSD because, I had a lot of stress coming out of my last relationship. But I have 2 teenage children who attended school and high school. So they both got COVID and I took care of them. I took care of my ex while he had COVID. For some reason, I didn't get it. So I was exposed to it on 3 different occasions without me wearing a mask and things like that. So I feel like I just have a pretty good immune system. Do you feel like your immune system was compromised at all, or no?
I think I did. I did take the vaccine. I took 3 of them. And yeah, I mean, if I were to go back and do it again, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
But
I feel like that's kind of the consensus from a lot of people right now.
and actually, it's interesting. I took the vaccine and I still got COVID.
Yeah, I know. The one thing that they told you would be that you would have a lesser symptoms but initially it started with you need to take it because you won't get COVID. Then it moved to you need to take it because you'll have less symptoms. And then it was just like you need to take it because that one that we gave you for the lesser symptoms has now run out and we need to re-up you. You know what I mean? Like the narrative just keeps going and going and going.
Well, it's like, the whole mask thing. It's like, oh my God, masks are going to save your life. And then all of a sudden, it's useless. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And what is it? You breathe in carbon monoxide, you breathe out carbon dioxide?
Yeah. Yes.
So how is breathing in a bunch of carbon dioxide while in a mask good for anybody, I feel like it's just,
But then again, how deep do you go? What about the cell phone that you put to your head that,
I don't think that that's good either. I personally think I have a migraine today from this thing being attached to my head for the last couple days. Yeah, absolutely.
All the garbage and, it's interesting. We were talking about farms earlier and how you've got a love for farms.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we just got rid of these stupid devices that we have and if back in the 17, 16, 1800 centuries, they didn't have things like this and they still managed to communicate, build infrastructure.
Yeah.
There's so much development. And we were talking about farms and, in terms of food and stuff. Can you share a little bit about that? Did you have a farm when you were younger or was there, where did the love come from?
Well, I did grow up in a rural area where I wasn't raised on a farm, but there was lots of farms around me where I grew up in Ontario. My grandfather had a farm. I just personally believe that we're in a time where society is dividing. And there's some people that are perfectly fine with GMO foods and eating meat that's been vaccinated because they are starting to vaccinate. I think as of April this month, they are vaccinating all the animals. So there is
reading that, yeah.
There is absolutely no way to get around getting the mRNA within your system without going to a farmer that you actually know where you can buy the meat from the farmer, Wow. And that's where I'm at. I'm kind of like, I'm a single woman. I live on my own. Well, I have my children. But now I have to go source out a bloody cow to put in my freezer to provide healthy food for my children just so that there isn't an additional mRNA within their system. Because all 3 of my children did get vaccinated because I didn't have the rights to have any say on that. And, they're taking away our parental rights. Now I believe that BC has approved that children 12 years and older are allowed to do hormone replacement therapy without their parents signing off on it. There's actually a gentleman here in BC who's getting fined $30,000 as a parent because one, he refused to refer to his daughter by their proper pronoun, which would be a he. And, I think that that's crazy. Like, since when in society is a 12-year-old capable of making a biological decision about their body that's going to affect them for the rest of their life? I think it's absolutely insane. I get it. When I was 12 and 13, I was the smartest person in the world, especially a 13-year-old. Like, you're really brilliant at 13. Mm-hmm. But in the grand spectrum of like your whole life, does that really, like when you go back to 13, even though you thought you were so smart at 13 to like 16, 17, 18, do you not feel like now you have a lot more wisdom?
Oh, of course. It's funny. I was mentioning to a friend that, and I think I shared this with you the other day. We've chatted actually a few times this week. But
because I've been having a mental breakdown.
Well, everybody has mental breakdowns, to be honest. I'm I'm just kind of curious. I get like whenever somebody has an issue, I don't know why it is, but I'm just so curious about it. I'm just like, you have an issue. You're fascinating.
I
Like,
have a lot of issues.
I would
so
love
I
to
must be
learn about
super
you.
Fascinating.
Right? I usually go for the people that have the most issues because I find, they're number one, the most interesting.
Yeah.
Number two, the story, and number three, and number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and beyond. There's just so much fascination there and so much to learn.
Yeah.
And as just kind of circling back to autistic ways, we love to learn.
Yeah.
Like we're just
Absolutely.
learners.
Yeah. I feel like I was told before that I was a student of life, and I truly believe that. I am always somebody that wants to learn and grow, and I can be very stubborn and a complete pain in the butt, but I do believe that I have the willingness, like prove me wrong. If there's something that I'm saying that doesn't resonate with you, I am more than willing to be turned in another direction. I just need to have it presented in a way that makes logical sense.
For me, I'm just like, what information do you have? And if it's correct or incorrect, I actually don't even like, I'm just like,
You're just fascinated.
I'm just fascinated. Like, I'm just like, even if it, like, I won't even research actually a lot of the stuff that I talk about. I don't really research it, but I feel it.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
the same with me.
I have to feel it.
Yeah.
If I don't feel it, then it's not something I'll entertain or talk about.
Yeah. And that kind of actually brings me back to the vaccine, because I feel that there's a lot of people that weren't affected. They didn't have any health concerns because they didn't feel any reserve to getting it. Right. But I feel like somebody like me who already, had some reservation, it's almost like manifesting a problem. I felt like I had the reservation about it. Had I have gotten it, I'm pretty concerned that I would have ended up with some heart issues, because I know that that's a big thing that's happening with a lot of people. The coagulated blood and whatever those tumors are that they're pulling out of people's hearts are just, they're scary as shit.
Jeez.
Yeah. And they've never even seen them. They don't even know what these things are. So, and I understand the fear factor, because when I was watching TV, every single time I turned on the news, I thought to myself, whoa, I think I need to go. I think I need to go get vaccinated. So I totally understand, but I just decided to cut myself off of the news aspect.
Best thing you could ever do.
Yeah. And it allowed me to tune into my own intuition.
Well, and media, they're paid to create stories, to make stories, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's not factual, but every day sitting down at 6 o'clock watching how many COVID cases there are, there's much better things we can do with our time.
I was terrified watching that. I was terrified. At the time, I was dating somebody when COVID was happening, and every time he would come home from work, I'd be like, wash your hands, brush your teeth, sanitize. And he was just like, holy shit. Like, Amanda, like, you're crazy. And I was just like, no, this is because I was watching TV. And he's like, you need to like stop watching TV because this is insane. I wanted him in a bubble wrapper.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it makes sense. Like, whatever, again, we were chatting about this earlier, whatever you feed grows.
Yeah.
You feed yourself the news, negativity, COVID cases, homicides, all this other shit, accidents. If you watch somebody, and statistics show, I don't know what the number is, but I know if you sit in front of something and watch it repetitive, and that's why, again, PTSD, going back to PTSD, look at all these medical professionals, police, ambulance, fire, they see the craziest shit.
Yeah.
And, they have a hard time surviving. A lot of them commit suicide. We have firefighters that can't survive. They just they can't sleep. They're just seeing all that. That's PTSD. It's facts, right?
I actually have two of my really good friends that are paramedics, and both of them have PTSD, and they have been within the field for, at least a decade. And it's just really sad, because how can anybody be exposed to death and trauma on such a regular basis and then be expected to be like normal? Like, it's just like not enough compassion goes out to our paramedics and our firefighters, our police, and things like that have to witness these tragedies on a regular basis, and then they have to fight for, time off. It's like, how many dead people have you seen? I need a freaking year off.
Yeah. Well, it's fascinating too. A lot of us, they fuck the police, or stupid. It takes them so long to get here, and and then guess what? When you have a fire, when you have somebody holding you at gunpoint and or holding a knife at you, all of a sudden they're the first ones you call. So
Yeah,
it seems
well,
so double-sided.
They're civil servants, right? Like, they're here to serve us. And I feel that even the police, like, you're right, they do get a really bad rep, but they're here to work for us and to help us. I've had to call the police on boyfriends and things like that. So I've definitely had my exposure to that system in a way that I felt like they were there to protect me.
You've had to call the police on boyfriends?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've had to call the police on 2 boyfriends. One was just a total nightmare, and he kicked me out of my house. The other one was the last guy that I dated, the one who's given me like massive PTSD. I had an argument with him because I actually went to the east side of Vancouver and went into a detox for weed. And it wasn't really that I was having a problem with weed as much as I didn't understand that I was under psychological warfare and within, like, he was mentally abusing me. He was mentally assassinating me. And the night that I came home from being in Vancouver detox, this is like ghetto ass situation. Okay. Like, it doesn't get any more ghetto than this. There's like 25 women in one room. Okay. Jeez. And they're all coming off of crystal meth, crack, heroin. And I'm like, I got a weed problem, And that night I came home, he put me to bed because, I'd been in detox for 3 days. I woke up at like 1 a.m. I was like, where the hell is he? I look outside my backyard. I open like the curtains. There is like a 5-foot freaking fire.
Oh, I remember
he was
you
having
shared
a fire in my backyard at 1 a.m, and he was hammered.
It's a good time to have a fire.
Like, piss drunk. And I was like, what the hell is your problem? Like, what are you doing? And ultimately, that night we got into a big argument. He's like, I had to take care of the kids for 3 days. I'm like, I've had to take care of them for 3 decades.
It's only fucking marshmallows at 1 a.m. Come on, Amanda.
Like, how normal is that? And people are like, and then they shame me, the person who basically has to, who's subjected to all the abuse, the mental abuse, because he's smarter than me, and he can outsmart the whole, manipulate everybody, and I'm just kind of, this is me on a silver platter. Like, it's not, I don't have the capacity or the ability to fool people. It's just, I am what I am.
I have a question. Why was it a silver platter, not a gold?
Okay, gold. It should always be a gold platter because I much prefer gold.
This is my personality coming out, by the way, guys. Sometimes I like to... Amanda was going in deep there, and I had to just kind of get an intercept for a minute.
Intercept.
So, yeah, it's sometimes I like that. It's interesting in life coaching, which I'm sure we'll have that lovely lady on here at some point.
Yeah, she's going to come on in 2 weeks.
They talk about... kind of disruption of thought. So basically, because I did a little bit of life coaching. I mean, not too much. I kind of got into it during COVID because my DJ business actually shut down, and I got creative with the whole situation. And I was like, okay, well, I could sell everything, number one, or number two, I can get creative. And that's where, I took some coaching classes and, utilized Zoom and, just really got to understand deeper. And it really helped myself become a better speaker, a better listener, a better learner. And that's really where the journey of self-development and where the switch flicked for me.
I could never be a life coach or any sort of counselor. Literally the worst thing I could do. And yet I counsel people almost, all day long. Because I have a lot of friends that are going through narcissistic relationships, and that's what I do. But I am terrible at it. But it's just, this is my life. I could never do it as a profession.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could either. I just kind of, I got into it, and for me, I'll read a little bit of this book. I'll read a little bit of this book. I'll get into half of this book. I'll do this, do that. I've got so many different things going on. And I think that's helped me grow in some sort of, and we were chatting about this, about the needs that influence sort of our decisions, and my two needs that influences my decisions are growth and contribution. So I need to grow. I need to continue growing, and I feel like everything.
I forget what mine were.
Fuck, I can look on my phone.
It was
but
contribution and love.
let me look on my phone.
Yeah. So I feel like so yours are growth and contribution, and mine was, I feel like, contribution and love, which is so bizarre, but it makes sense being an empath. And that's the other weird thing, is that I am fully an empath, and that's not actually super common among autism. A lot of autistic people are considered not empathetic.
You are contribution and love.
I am contribution and love.
So you need to contribute and you need to love.
I need to contribute. That makes so much sense to me.
Right? If you don't find something that you love, and it's funny, our creative director, Lucho, he did this as well. And I can't remember what his results were, but, when we kind of chatted about it, it made sense. But really, I kind of got this from life coaching, actually, from learning the life coaching program. And, really what influences how we do basically go throughout the day, right? Whatever we see, these are part of, our influential decisions and how we do things. So, getting back to the diversity, and I believe it's kind of I've tied it to autism and ADHD as well. So if I can find something where I can be of service to growth and contribute, and it works with my autistic ways, and, again, I can feed it and I can serve it to others, it's going to be something that's passionate, that's going to continue, and I'm just going to, it's not, there's no dollar amount. It's just passion, right? Tesla, passion. Get back to, being simple, oh my God, Tesla, how did he do this? Did it with fucking passion.
Yeah. So this is the thing that I was kind of curious about. I personally find you very empathetic. And that is not necessarily something that is, I guess, recorded within the autism spectrum as being super common. And you're very empathetic. I'm very empathetic. So how do you feel about, as an overall, there's a lot of, literature out there that basically says that we're not empaths.
Well, we're scared to feel because it's not socially acceptable.
Yeah.
Like for me, I'm scared to feel things, to be vulnerable, because I've seen everything on the outside be so different. So why would I want to open myself up?
Yeah, that actually makes sense, because there was this time I worked at Harley, and I worked at Harley Davidson, and I can remember this guy came in and he was so mean to me that I just started crying. And my boss at the time came over and was like, oh my gosh, Amanda, like, you should have told me right away. We would have escorted him out, yada, yada. And then the people who I worked with came over and they were like, I can't believe you're crying. Like, I thought that you were like the ice queen. And it's interesting because I have always put off this persona of being super tough. And that is totally just a shell, some sort of coping mechanism that I feel like I've had to have in order to protect the fact that I'm actually the complete opposite of that.
Interesting.
Yeah. I've we wear masks, right? And we put on these masks being autistic. I'll quite often be in a room and I'll look at people and I'll see how they are. And then I'm like, okay, yeah, got it. Check. I know how to be, and I can just imitate what's happening in the room. And that's how I've had to survive. But I'm dropping that now. And
good
I'm just
for you. I was just going to challenge you on that. I was just going to say, for me, if I see that, I'm, all of a sudden I got COVID. Somebody gave me COVID and I got to go home.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Basically, I'm leaving. That's essentially what that means and how I'm saying that. Like, if there's a place that I don't feel comfortable, I can't grow, unless it's with family, and even with family, we were chatting about this as well. I'm quiet with my family because my family they don't understand me to the level, and everything I say is contradicted with something else, and it's not socially acceptable with whatever, and I'm not able to open up. So it's just, for me, it's okay. I'm okay with that. I don't need any validation from anybody. I don't.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to validate me. But if I sense something in an environment or a room or whatever, I just won't fucking be there. It's simple as that.
Do you get called tough? You know, like people would always say to me, like, "Oh, Amanda, you're tough. Oh, Amanda, you're strong." I even got it from like my best friend today. She's like, "But you're just so, you're so strong, boo," or whatever. That's what we call each other, is boo. And I was just like, "Yeah, I am, but like, fuck, I'm exhausted from being so strong."
We're strong when we have to be, but of course, like, we have feelings as well. Like, I mean, we feel when something's truly bothering us, it bothers us to a deeper level of than it would probably bother somebody else, because they don't have that care. They don't have that depthness, right? Like,
Yeah.
they're surface. They're people are such surface thinkers, and we were chatting about this today again, and I love reflecting on our chats because it's so meaningful to me. And yesterday I was grabbing a tea at Tim Hortons, and I seen, I don't know how old she was. She was somewhere between 70 and 90. I don't know, but she was a really old lady, really confused, doesn't take the SkyTrain, whatever, and she's waiting in line. She's going rummaging through her stuff, and she seemed lost. And so I just walked up to her and I said, "Hey, is there anything I can help?" And meanwhile, you have like people just passing by, just walking by, just,
Yeah.
they just do not give a shit. And it's like, I kind of put myself in the moment, and I said, what if that was my mother?
Yeah.
What if that was my somebody that I truly deeply cared about? Why can't we care about others the way we care about our significant other? Like, for example, you've had boyfriends that have truly, oh my God, I love you so much. This meat suit is just fucking amazing, right? Why can't we give? I mean, and again, you probably wouldn't go the whole meat suit way.
They only loved the meat suit, by the way. That was the only thing that they were into. It was just the meat suit. They weren't into anything else, because I haven't actually dated anyone that wasn't like a narcissist. So, yeah. So back to you being a kind person.
Yeah, just it's interesting that people are so caught on what they can see in front of them, not very deep. You don't know somebody's story until you really sit down and get to know them, right? So,
Yeah.
it's just something like that where it's just like, I'm trying to do, in life, I want to do the opposite of what society is doing at this point. Every
Oh
single
my
time I
God.
see society do something, I'll be like, okay, what's the opposite of that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I've never been somebody that really went with the flow, and I feel like this does kind of, reflect on the autism. It's really hard to fit in. I don't understand why people are doing the things that they're doing. And, there was that analogy of this guy holding up the board, and he says, like, "I'm really depressed, would you give me a hug, or could you stop and talk to me?" And nobody stops. Then he flips the sign, and it's got all this money on it. He's like, "Would you come up and, and take some money?" And everybody comes up and takes the money, but nobody is concerned about his mental health. And I feel like this is the line we need to start drawing in society, is we need to stop being so concerned about the money, and it's more concerned about if the person needs help,
Money's going to come. Like, money will walk up on you. And look, guys, I mean, we all do stuff we need to live, right? We need to feed ourselves. It's just the way it is. But in actual fact, when you do something with passion to help somebody at a deeper level, money's going to knock on your door. And it's okay to accept money at that point. It's like this podcast journey. Maybe it might take a year. Maybe it might take 2 years. I don't give a shit. I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I love to give to others, right? So when you, and again, the one quote I heard, and I've mentioned it so many times, I'll mention it again: when you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. So
Yeah.
how do you do that? You fucking pick up a book, you have uncomfortable conversations, you get in a space where you can learn, you can grow, you can become, right? We're all trying to become. That's growth. And then you give that. You give it to someone else. If you have so much money, if you keep it with you when you I mean, we're all going to
What are you going to do? You're going to die with all the money? Well, that actually brings me to this last guy that I had been seeing. He's going to die with a lot of money, and he completely ghosted me in this last couple days for, me just being an honest asshole, which, everybody knows that that's who I am. And at the end of the day,
shame on you.
At the end of the day, it's just like, it's really sad, because to do something like that to somebody, like to attempt to manipulate them or to coerce them into dating you for an entire year, and then just in the very end, the very first time that I pissed them off, they ghost me for like I haven't ever heard from him again. So a whole year was put into manipulating me. Like, that's insane. And at the end of the day, he's going to die with a lot of money. And who's going to be by your side if you keep treating people like that?
Well, I think, legacy is something that's really fascinating. There's so many people that have passed that we talk about because they've created a feeling.
Well, what about the financial legacy? That you're talking more of an emotional legacy.
Yeah, well, I think financial legacy is good. Whatever. Okay, you have money, you're going to pass it along to the family. But again, here's another conversation. You can have all the fucking money in the world, but if you don't know what to do with it, that's a problem.
Yeah.
If you just go to the casino and spend it all, you all of a sudden don't have any money. So, I think money's great, but I think legacy means more than anything, and creating a legacy of having people feel that they belong is more important, because I never felt that. Now, I felt helpless when I was younger, and now my goal is to be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and to be, I've always wanted to be more of a philanthropist, and to be able to give back into society. That's just something that I am very drawn to. I don't have anything to give other than my experience at this point in life, but that's kind of my dream, is to one day, infiltrate certain systems and change them. And not because I think that I'm necessarily special or, have a God complex. It's just because things are really messed up right now. And it's not okay. I really want to give back to some of these communities that have suffered. We have Indigenous people within Canada that have been, alienated and suffered, and, we're white colonists here. And I feel like it's time to change. Like, we need to shift back and do what's right.
Yeah. Honestly,
in a non-white savior way, as possibly as, maybe, with anonymity.
Yeah, I don't even know. Like, I this could go in so many different ways, and I don't think we really have the time to.
No, we won't go there today.
Yeah.
Because we are going to have a guest in a few, like maybe in a month or so, who can maybe touch on this, because she is a beautiful Indigenous woman, and I feel that this is a better conversation to have with her, obviously, than to white folk.
But, guys, just kind of getting back to the original sort of purpose, and really just, we even had a miscommunication today. It's okay. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to be you. It's okay to, we all cry. We all have situations. We all experience the type of things that we don't want to experience, but it's giving us the opportunity to become. So take it and use it.
Yeah.
For example, today we were chatting about, and Amanda kind of pushed us through. We were going to say, let's just go on some scheduling or whatever. We'll revamp and look at things. And so there's no script here. We are speaking from our heart, from our soul, from just the personal aspect of our perspective in life, and really, guys, send your message out to the world. People are fucking waiting for you.
Yeah.
People are waiting for you, and if you don't get it, then you know what I mean. It's gonna be difficult, but I know we're getting close to ending time, and that's really just my thoughts on this episode. And
I just want to touch on that just for 1 second, because it's typically one of those things when I make these posts that I'm just devastated about. I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to judge me. They're going to hate me. But I get really vulnerable and raw. And it is honestly 9 times out of 10.
Feels so good.
Well, it's not. I do not feel good. No,
not in the moment, but after.
No, not even then.
Really?
I do not. Nope, I do not. But what it is the impact that I seem to have on others. That is what feels good.
And that's the contribution.
Not me, because I feel terrible. Like, I made this crazy post yesterday about like autism and this and that, and being autistic and just not fitting in, because we don't fit in. It's like oil and water. And the amount of feedback I had was just really, really beautiful. And, that's why I want to continue to be vulnerable, because I really do see vulnerability as a sense of strength. So hopefully the two of us can just continue to be vulnerable and to bring up these difficult conversations that really need to be talked about, and that's what we're going to keep doing. We're going to keep bringing you those.
That's part of the contribution and the love, because you're getting the love back.
Yeah.
That is because you're impacting. You're impacting. So you're giving and then you're getting the love.
Yeah.
So you're actually fulfilling your needs of what you need.
Yeah.
So if you do that enough, it's just going to grow.
Well, that's all I can really hope for. So anyhow, I think that that's kind of it for our time today. But thank you, Craig, for having these open conversations that, I think really helps me. And I'm not sure about you.
Well, from one meat suit to another meat suit, it's awesome. I love it.
Thank you. And, hopefully everybody can just continue to follow us on our Instagram page, the Guest Perception podcast, as well as just, check in and watch us when we're on YouTube.
Yeah, there's going to be lots more coming up, guys. Amanda's got a whole list of people, and I'm consistently working on a lot of things. And, the goal is to really just give it to you and create, a story and experience. So enjoy.
Awesome. Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Take care, guys.